Relations Committee. Today is Tuesday, February the 7th, and let's see, I haven't done this in a minute, it seems like. We had an extra Tuesday last month. I detect a quorum. We have council members Hancock, Nash, Parker, Porterfield, Withers, and Young here, so there are 7 in attendance. And we have 2 items of business today. We'll start with, is Councilmember Toombs nearby?
Yep.
I think I'll look for her.
It's okay. Yep. We're going to have 2 quick items of business, and actually, we'll just have 2 quick items of business, and we're not going to hear either of these bills in committee today. What I want to do is, both of these bills were heard in a different committee yesterday, and action was taken on them. So because they were done in one committee, we don't have to do them in both committees. One bill has a lot of amendments on it, and that was covered in depth yesterday at the Planning and Zoning Committee. And then Councilmember Toombs's bill, so BL 2022-1531. I'm going to do this one first. We'll move the other to the heel. This amends Section 17. This is Toombs and Benedict. It amends Section 17.16.030 of the Metro Code to require notice to surrounding property owners for adaptive residential developments. Councilmember Toombs has an amendment on it, and that was moved and approved in Planning and Zoning Committee, so we're just not going to take action on that item today. And then the other bill, BL 2022-1471, that is with Parker Welsh. It amends Section 16.24.030 and 17.04.060 of the Metro Code to amend the definitions of dwelling unit and family. And I have some comments I want to make sure. Yesterday in Planning and Zoning there was a 45-minute discussion on this. There's 4 amendments. The bill sponsor is going to defer this bill. I will ask him in just a moment. Well, we're not going to speak on this today because there is a huge discussion. One thing that I want to do for the viewing public is give a quick recap because there are a couple things that are interesting about this. So this timeline, this bill was filed on September the 27th, over 4 months ago. The first reading was on October the 4th. At first reading, which we rarely see things pulled from consent, it was pulled from consent to be deferred for 2 meetings and to track with the Planning Commission hearing. The Planning Commission hearing was publicly advertised on November the 4th, and the hearing was held on December the 9th. Both the Codes Administration and the Planning Administration gave documentation of their support of the bill, and it passed on consent with no opposition from the public nor from any council members at the Planning Commission hearing. And that was with the bill as it was originally written. There now is a substitute and an amended substitute.
It was the substitute that planning.
Oh, it was the
Yeah,
substitute.
it was the
Okay,
substitute, yeah. Planning
thank you.
instead of the substitute.
My apologies for that. Okay, so the record, let that be corrected. The sponsor held the council public hearing on January the 3rd. There was no one that showed up to that public hearing, and it passed on, but there was discussion on the floor. The bill was passed on second reading and then deferred for 2 meetings, and then it's up for third reading and passage today with an amendment, actually with 4 amendments proposed. Yesterday in the planning, as I prepared these notes so that I could make sure that we captured all of this, because I want people to be able to go back to this video so that they can, if they have questions, if the public has questions, hopefully they can see this video and then also reference the Planning and Zoning video so that hopefully that covers everything. So one of the major points that came out of the discussion yesterday was the potential lack of enforcement. So I would encourage people to look at how short-term rentals are today in the position of some of the opposition on council of short-term rentals. Currently, short-term rentals allow up to 12 occupants, 365 days a year. And while it's unlawful to acquire a permit for non-owner occupied short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, that is something that Codes is aware of, and that people do a workaround by providing false information on their applications for short-term rentals. So there's an enforcement issue with that as well, but we're not hearing pushback from council members on that. So that's something that I personally am taking liberty to call that out. So I just want to make sure that we're when we talk about enforcement, we know that there's things that the codes department has challenges with enforcements on that. So, to wrap up, I just want to say that with continued deferral of this bill, which the sponsor intends to do tonight, as he did in committee last night, or at least as he did in committee last night, plans to defer the bill, I just would ask that the council members and the public go back, review that information. I think the last time that in the last meeting, I suggested that we send questions in for this. I personally didn't receive any questions. I don't know if the administration or the council office, rather, no, we didn't receive any questions about this yet. There's still a lot of questions that came up in committee yesterday. So take a look at that. Please use this next 2-week deferral, this next 1-meeting deferral that the sponsor asked for yesterday. Please use that to come up with your questions so that we can have a quick, concise dialogue and get all the answers to the questions that we have. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
I wanted to acknowledge that we had